to call the Central School Board meeting December 16th, 2024 with all board members present except Pro Box. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A couple of things about today's agenda. We'll go through it until 6:10. We'll get as much accomplished as we can until 6:10, and then we'll do the truth and taxation. We'll close the regular meeting for temporary, and then open the truth and taxation, and then go back to our regular scheduled meeting. So we'll just kind of start rolling and see how far we get. We'll move on to A4, approval of the agenda. Any comments or questions from board members? Changes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Crailes, second by Lurkey. Any other conversations? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Agenda is approved. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Superintendent Schachmeyer, is there anything you want to highlight in there?
Yep, I do. We did have a resignation. Connor Smith, Director Smith, or Clerk Smith, yeah, there we go. Director, clerk, whatever. What do you do again? Resigned effective January 1. And so we will be accepting that resignation as part of the consent agenda. And just like we talked about last meeting, there will be a process to fill that vacancy that the new board will consider in January. But I want to thank Clerk Smith for his service to Central Public Schools.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Question on the hires for special ed, are we fully?
Yep, so we are, we have two postings or two job openings out there. So we did hire a special ed teacher, and that is for elementary. We did have an increase in enrollment, and along with that, a lot of those students had IEPs. So we are sitting at a caseloads of like 22, 23, 26 right now. So this will curb that. We still then have an ECSE opening for special education. That would be just in Tracy Warner. That position is still open. I know Director Braun has a couple of irons in the fire. Hopefully we can fill that. Our hope is to maybe fill that with a December graduate. So, so these are positions that were vacant since the beginning, but we're also part of the project.
And then lunchroom supervision, is there, do we have one?
Yep, so we have one, she resigned.
Okay.
And so this is a replacement. And then, yeah, so yeah, no problem.
Any other questions from board members?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that. Motion made by Lurkey, second by Ishins. Any other conversations? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to A6, acceptance of gifts. $2,679.90 from the American Legion for Central Band equipment. $3,500 from Cologne Fire Relief Association for boys basketball trip expenses. $400 from Josh Arnold for Project Christmas. $2,000 from the Raiders Touchdown Club for football coaches. $2,000 from the Central Softball Boosters Club for softball coaches. $500 from the Cologne Fire Relief Association for holiday lunch treats. $2,680 from VFW Post 1783 for Central Band equipment. $3,500 from VFW Post 1783 for standards, $3,500 from VFW Post 1783 for boys basketball trip expenses, and $4,500 from Elroy Lotzig for boys basketball, girls basketball, and wrestling. Thank you to our very generous community and their very generous gifts.
What are standard times? Thank you. So volleyball standards. So it's the pieces on the end that holds the net, like what the referee would stand on. So part of our project, we did buy a new one for our varsity gym, and then we've been using the older ones in the field house. So we're just expanding so that we have newer equipment throughout.
was wondering the same thing.
Yep.
Thank you for asking.
Probably could have elaborated
asked
on that,
earlier
but
today,
that's,
too.
yes, volleyball standards. Move to approve gifts.
Second.
Second by Erickson. Any other conversations? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Gifts are approved. We'll move on to public forum. I think so, okay. We will move on to the monthly reports. Student council, if you'd like to just state your name and
You're just stay under anything or?
stay where you're comfortable.
I'm Marley Bennett. I'm Kina Moshinsky. And last month we did a thankful tree, so we kind of cut out paper, put it on the wall, had all the students write down what they were thankful for, and they were like written on tiny leaves, and we put them up on the tree. We are currently collecting brown paper bags for the bountiful baskets for cologne. We will take plastic, but we really want brown paper bags. We are also working on a service for the Valentine's. That's all we're working on.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, student council. Any questions from board members for student council? Great. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate you being here. Caitlin is not here, so we'll move on. Unless, did she have something that she wanted you to address? Okay. Or the superintendent, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
So, can we do this now? Or do you want to do the board reports, this part?
Oh,
Is that okay?
yeah, we can jump into that if
Okay,
you want
so,
to.
I just, want to take a moment. We do have, 3 board members present that, this will be their last board meeting. And just personally, I want to say thank you to, Sarah, Kyle, and Connor for your service, here at Central Public Schools. Do you want to say
Sure.
a couple of words? All right.
Sure.
So,
Well, I'll start with, I don't know who you have. I'll start
yeah,
with
just start
work my way
start
down.
with Connor, that's fine.
Connor, just want to thank you for your service. And it's been your time with clerk and being on teacher negotiations and just really pulling that community engagement part. I really wish you all the best in your new endeavor and hope that we can continue to be a bridge between the city and the school.
Yes.
And look forward and best of luck to you.
Yeah, even though I'm not gonna be sitting here, I'll be, hopefully serving constituents in a different area. So yeah, hopefully work together in different capacity. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And then Kyle and Sarah, when I sat back and reflected on what this place looked like and felt like 5 years ago, I think it's important for you guys just to take a deep breath and think about that first meeting in the old media center on the chairs and tables that were falling apart and your commitment and drive to just make this place a better place, inside out, teachers, students. The place is lighter and brighter in many ways because you guys and your leadership. So thank you for everything, Sarah, your tireless efforts on community education, all that vote yes stuff you did prior to becoming on the board, the phone banks and everything you did for our community. Thank you. And then Kyle, your tireless efforts on being the treasurer and just making sure everything was transparent, and you really kept those voter promises first and foremost every time we met as a finance committee too. So just, it's been an honor and privilege to serve with each and every one of you. We are going to miss you. So congrats, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have the 3 of you come over here.
Oh yeah, you're not done yet.
You're not done yet.
Smile.
You have to take a photograph.
Photo op.
Yes, it's on social media.
Well, just, why don't we go, yeah. Yeah. There we go. There we go. And then we'll say it.
Paparazzi.
Oh, boy.
I know. Makes that noise even.
Thank you guys for everything. Is there anything that you guys wanted to share? Or words of wisdom to the next one's coming on, or?
So it's funny because I've been thinking for the last month too. 5 years ago, this place looked a lot different, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity, the learning experience. Thankful to all of you to serve with, and to Kim and teacher, staff, admin team. We couldn't have done all of this without everyone. And it was such a great learning experience. So I'm really, really grateful that I had the opportunity. And Spencer, my biggest piece of advice is to make sure to always keep everyone in mind when you're making decisions and having hard topics to cover. Not just certain groups of people, but collectively the whole. That's all we've got.
Yeah, I thought too, the last 5 years of just what we've gone through. I mean, it's been a lot. I thought we, as a board, two different board groups, I should say, worked really well together as a team. And, that's my advice going forward, you know, work together as a team. You're gonna accomplish more and you're gonna get further, working together than trying to divide and you know, try to get your own way, right? But working together as a team, I think is very important. And I feel like that's why we've been successful the last 5 years and we got a lot accomplished.
Very true statement from Coach Kyle.
Coach K, our own Coach K.
Yeah, and for those new ones coming on, just, yeah, don't be afraid to speak up if you have any questions. There's a lot of stuff that gets thrown at you at the beginning, and yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of the current ones or Tim or anyone. So, yeah.
I do, just on a personal note, like each one of you at the board table, I spent a number of individual hours with for various reasons. And I'm not trying to single Sarah out here, but like Sarah, you were the very first person I met when I started my job here. And for those of you that have been around a while, it's Sarah and two other moms came in concerned about the decision, about how the softball decision was made that fall. And that parlayed into Sarah, Shelby, and Sarah Molno, like helping with the Vote Yes group. And then you two running for school board at the same time. And it just, I don't know, it's just amazing how far it's come. So each and every one of you, thank you. And it makes my job, really enjoyable having it.
Did you ever think we'd be sitting under this roof 5 years ago? Changed environment. Sometimes it felt like forever that it was gonna happen, but it did happen and come together, so. So is there anything else that you have?
So just some side notes. This is okay. How do you transition off that?
Yeah,
And I'm
okay,
just gonna
sorry.
transition out of it. Last Friday, I was at SAF. That stands for Schools Advocating for Fair Funding, which is a group of 93 school districts that advocate for equity in the funding formulas that fund our schools. And this is a legislative year, so it's going to be a wild and crazy ride. And I mean, I'm sure all of you have seen some of the budget forecasts coming from the state of Minnesota. So it's just, we are a group that's going to be active down at the Capitol, advocating for equity on the funding formula, to make sure that towns like the towns that Central represents, have tax equity, just like if you were in Minneapolis, because from our perspective, it seems that Hennepin County and Ramsey County get a lot more tax advantages than other counties. So we're going to be advocating for that. So when you see updates from me for SAF, that's what they are for. So and I just want to, and it's not just because she's sitting here, but I just want to give a shout out to Becca Braun. She's our special ed director. Finding special ed teachers in 2024 is a task, and she has kept her nose to the grindstone to try and uncover whoever it is we can find, and I think we found a good one here. And doing that mid-year is rare, and I just want to give a public shout out to her. She's been working tirelessly and keeping the troops as happy as she can, because we know. Yeah, it's just hard. It weighs on everyone for sure. So thank you, Becca.
So we'll move into other board reports. Does anybody have anything?
Yeah, update from community ed. So Sue I just asked her sort of a updating last month here, so I'll just read from her. The craft fair was a big success with positive feedback about the layout with the field house setup instead of the elementary. We had heavy traffic all day with some vendors reporting it was the best revenue event they have had, even topping Canterbury. Canterbury had a big craft show and they were more successful here. They're preparing for the spring summer catalog in January with the end product in mailboxes the first part of March. Instructor proposal forms will be sent on January 6th. Basketball in full swing and adult volleyball will begin the first Sunday in January. And preschool registration will open for current families in February, and new families will have the opportunity to enroll in March.
Excellent. What answers that about how the current sale went?
Yeah.
Went well. All right, any questions for me yet? All right, any other board reports? Kyle, did you want to
Could do one more.
do it? You got it.
One more finance. Yep, so it's attached. And so just want to kind of highlight the enrollment. We did go down a little bit. Do you want to?
Yeah, so we did it. I mean, we had a bad month. We lost 10 enrollments. 6 of them were online and the other 4 were elementary. And online, I really have no words about just online options, but I pulled this at the beginning of the month. I know since then we've had 3 enrollments, but I think this highlights, you see the yellow line of what we budgeted at, that's what we budgeted at. So that, like, there shouldn't be alarm bells going off, but I think we had a really good few rounds of patting ourselves on the back for our enrollment the first few months. And now reality is setting in, and this is our trend. Like, we will start higher, and as the year goes, we will lose some students. The ones that aren't going to an online option have left the area. They're not going to neighborhood schools. They're going to Bemidji. So just kind of keep that in motion. But this is the number one metric that we have to keep watching is enrollment. So.
Yep. So this is the time of year too where the finance individuals are working on a revised budget. So that'll be coming probably in February, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So everybody, hang on, enjoy. No, just want to say that overall the district financial fund balance is in decent shape compared to how it's been in prior years. So the district is managing the funds, managing the money well, and I think the individuals that we have in place have been doing a good job and will continue to do a good job.
Any questions for Kyle? No, myself. All right, thank you, Kyle. Thank you for everything. Any other board reports?
I have some stuff from Southwest Metro. So just kind of continuing with Jeff Horton's first, he did like his 100-day report. And he is doing a lot of things right now. We're working through, kind of just decided that with things changing and turnover and stuff, just time to start everything new. So we are going through every single policy and updating everything, even if it's just, yep, this is fine, but just so that there's a starting point. He's holding a lot of like focus groups he has met with every single employee now. But then going forward, like, how can Southwest Metro support us as a district? What other options are there available? So probably look for some stuff there. But it is pretty cool. Just like the whole atmosphere there has changed. It's all about transparency, and when somebody tells you that they're making some sort of change, you don't even think to question it. Like, it's so genuine. It's really cool to see. But yeah. So hopefully some changes in ways that we can support each other.
Growth and changes
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah,
there.
coming forward. So
He did mention at the last SOOP meeting that he may be jumping around to
Board
meetings of member districts. So if he shows up, just take it for what it is.
He would introduce himself. So
Yeah, he would come and
I
I would know he was coming. So
Okay.
he would be on the
Say we
agenda
should.
and I would probably
Sure,
have
yes.
him
Okay.
do a board report, if you
A
will.
little update,
Yep.
okay. Excellent. Anyone else? Any questions for Southwest? Okay, we'll move on to D, discussion items. Ms. Erickson.
Sorry, I'm off track here. D1, Student Services Mid-Year Check-In.
Which do you know?
I sure can.
All right, so an update from our world. The first slide is the weekend backpack program. So Miss Speedling, our new school counselor at the elementary 1 day a week here, has been putting together weekend bags with food for kiddos. So it's supported by the food shelf, and also there's a $500 grant that she's been able to access. So Tuesday, she goes up to the food shelf, she gets the food, and then she has got a target to supplement some stuff with that grant money, but then she puts the bags together and they go home in their backpacks on Friday. So they've got 8 families, which is 15 students that are making sure they have some food for the weekend. So that's the one update.
Yep. So this year's Seasons of Thanks and Seasons of Giving, previously known as Project Thanksgiving and Project Christmas, we renamed it to be more inclusive for all of our students. We served 15 families for our Seasons of Thanks, and we partnered again with Mac and Tunes for all the fixings and all the good food. And then Sarah Feedling, the counselor at the elementary school, and I and our admin delivers those meals right before Thanksgiving. And it's a big success, and we have lots of smiles. And then Seasons of Giving this year. This week we are handing out all of the gifts that the teachers, staff, Greater Time Classroom, school groups, community members all donated gifts. And so we were able to help 17 families. And this year it was 49 kids, and we fulfilled 145 tags, which was amazing.
I had to take 7 gift cards to Target on shop.
Yes. It was really fun. It was really fun. So they're all coming in this week before Friday to pick everything up, and the smiles and the joy is my favorite part of the year. It's great.
All right, and then next, Poppy the cow. So in the elementary, Mrs. Hanish, she has our Setting Free program, DCD, ASD population for the most part, and she found this, it's called Discover Dairy, and they got to adopt a cow. And literally the cow was like pregnant, and then the calf was born, and they get updates. And
I love this.
they named their calf, so the group decided on Poppy.
Poppy.
Yeah. And so they get monthly updates with like the size of Poppy, and they also, on the next slide, they've gotten to know who the dairy farm is, so who and what activities they do on the farm, so not just naming cows, but what kind of farming, what kind of other animals are there. They've done some learning with it, so they found it's a Minnesota dairy farm. So they found on the map where this was, and they plotted it and measured how far away it would be from us. They've gotten to meet the family, and like I said, just all the updates. They've done a growth chart, and the kids are actually bigger than Poppy, that maybe sounds weird, but I just thought Poppy would be bigger. But the kids, so they get to see where they're on the chart. They say hi. In November, they got to vote for their favorite cow, which of course they voted for Poppy, and then they got a sticker that said, I voted for Poppy. And on the next slide, you get to meet Poppy. So there's the certificate of adoption and what her name is. And so the kids love it. She's up on the board, and they say hi to Poppy. And one of the kids likes to call it Poppy Cat, because everything's cat, but they love it. So a little joy for you and the kids.
So cute.
Adorable.
I want to adopt one.
School board needs to get one.
Yeah, because the school.
Maybe the school board could have done that.
All right, then our last part.
Yep, so next up, we wanted to talk about some things that we've been doing in the elementary and middle school called multi-tiered systems of support. And these are the steps that we do, and then we'll kind of talk about data next. But step 1, we meet as a team and discuss and review student data, and students that are indicating needing a higher level of support. And then step 2, interventions are developed and then discussed with the interventionist or teachers to implement. And then step 3, intervention is implemented for 6 weeks with follow-up meetings to review the data and develop next steps.
So on that last part, you can kind of see the tiers. So tier 1 is everyone, whole group. Tier 2 is targeted intervention, and tier 3 is those intensive interventions. So at the elementary level, we have 41 students that are receiving tier or that Title I support. We have 43 in reading corps, and then 75 are receiving some sort of social emotional. And that would be with Ms. Beagling, that are receiving those social skills types of groups. This doesn't encompass the number of like interventions that teachers might be doing within their classroom. These are specific, like full out working on those interventions. At the secondary level, our middle school has 14 kids receiving intervention. High school has 11 receiving reading, and then there's 8 middle school in math, and then 10 that are receiving that social emotional. We also have added just recently some math support. That's going to be 5 days a week for kids. We recognize it's one of our areas that we could do better, and we had the opportunity to hire Lauren. And she's getting trained right now and started working with kids. And we just met as our MTSS team this morning at the elementary, and a student was getting 2 days a week, and we decided like it wasn't enough. And so we've had this option now that the student can have 5 days a week more intensive intervention to see, does that make a difference? At the high school this morning we were meeting, and we have Ballbuck in the middle school that's going to take on an executive functioning intervention during wind time. So that's going to add more kids that need kind of that organization, work completion, that type of skill to learn. And then we also have at the high school a math support with Ms. Ledford that has been showing some really good improvements for kids, even helping get some of that math work done and being able to show that within the classroom. So we've come a long way with our MTSS process, from all the name changes that we've had to we are MTSS now. So, but it takes a team. I mean, there's a team of us that meets weekly before the meetings and then with the teachers, and we've seen some good success. So I wanted to share with you guys so you know. Any questions for us?
Well, we all just want to go and adopt a cow.
I just had to share it. I was
No,
like,
that's
Lindsay,
great.
I have to share this because it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
D2 elementary mid-year check-ins.
I got you.
So about a year and a half ago, we were fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to be assigned someone from the state of Minnesota to come out and do some things with the elementary. And to be quite honest with you, the first year I didn't find very productive. Some of that certainly could have been a personality conflict, meaning mine wasn't driving so well with theirs, to be honest with you. And that person found a different job, which is good for that person because we had been given someone else this year. And lo and behold, I've known this person for like 20 some years. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot for the last 2 years is we've made a lot, you've talked about changes you've made to the outside of the buildings, and I mean, those are fabulous changes, right? But Kim and I have talked lots of times, until we change what happens inside the building, outside the building just is kind of nice, but isn't really what we're doing. So we've made a lot of changes in the last 3 years with what I believe were sound processes and good people making those decisions. But I wasn't still 100% sure, right? So it takes a little while longer than I would hope to see results. And I asked this person this year, along with 2 of their colleagues, to look at the processes we've used to make those changes. To take a step back for us to look at curriculum adoptions, to look at the reading core training, the letters training we've done, and the process we're going to use to be finding new math curriculum. And I wanted them to be in our PLCs, our professional learning communities with our teachers, so we could be assured to the best of their ability that what we're doing looks like it's really good stuff. And fortunately, the answer is it is. And I think I knew that, and I think the people around me knew that, but it was just really comforting to get that confirmation from the state. So I'm just super excited that I think all the things you folks have planned and we've tried to implement, according to the state, we're on a really good path. And that feels good. And obviously that plan, they always make some side swipes for us in terms, and we've made adjustments. And I'm confident that what we've done and what the board has done and charged us with doing, we're gonna see really great results starting as early as this year. And I'm excited about that.
So Rod, can you give the board a little bit of background? So the advocate is assigned through the Southwest Center for School Excellence, the region, the Southwest Center Region of Excellence, correct? And just kind of talk about like, okay, so we had some not good results specifically with elementary special ed students in math. And then you were assigned this person. So what types of things are they looking at? Just the things you described, or is there a rubric that they're looking at? Can you kind of bring the board through that a bit?
So weirdly, our test scores that had us land on this list were MCA test scores during COVID. Strange, really strange that we're on the list. But it's also been really good for us. After you get over being grumpy about having to do it and understand that there's some real value in doing this, and then you find some teammates to do that work with, then it feels really good. So we were assigned to this person for 3 years. And the person we had was here for 1.5 years. And we walked through just all of our structures, all of our processes from start to finish. And then some of the dreams and goals we had. And then what could we do to start implementing some of those? And the one we picked, which had not a direct correlation to special ed, but that's not a bad word. We picked tier 1 instruction, which would be what you would walk into a classroom and see. So if you're talking about tier 1, you're talking about Ron Erpenbach being a social studies teacher in a classroom with Josh Krales 25 years ago. That would be tier 1. And that was hard work with Josh Krales 25 years ago. You got that, everybody. And tier 2 would be these interventions they're talking about, where we have reading core and we have a math interventionist. And then tier 3 would be the top of the top kids who need some extra time, and that's our special ed population. But it didn't make any sense to us to tackle tier 3 when the most effective way to get to most of our kids is through tier 1. So we made that choice. I think it was 100% right. And all the PD we've done since that time has been with an eye towards how we can change that tier 1 instruction. So what a classroom, what a biology classroom looks like, what a 2nd grade classroom looks like, what a 5th grade classroom looks like. That's the process we've been on. And it's not over. We have 1.5 years left, but I feel a heck of a lot more comfortable where we're at today than I did 1.5 years ago when we started the process. And I'm honestly super hopeful. I was optimistically hopeful before, without really knowing for sure, did the work we're doing, was it the right work? Is it the right work? And sometimes it's good to have an expert from next door to assure you that the work you're doing is good, solid work. So I think it's the most important thing going on in the elementary is the work that happens behind the scenes and doesn't get Facebook photos, because it isn't fancy, cool stuff, but it's the nuts and bolts. What will drive that change we want.
So is this cohort or group that you're working with driving kind of what the building goals are as a building and what you guys are trying to implement and build off of to
Yeah,
practice,
where
flush
we
out systems
created
for you?
goals, they backfilled in with support.
Okay.
I don't know that, I could have told you that a year ago that they backfilled in with support, but I can tell you now that the people who've been in our building and have actually toured our building and been in classes and been in PLC groups have really done some of the stuff you'd have to do to figure out what we should be doing. Have a bunch of confidence. And by the way, we're not anywhere close to done. We'll meet with someone else Wednesday and someone else in January. So it's gonna be an ongoing process, which adapting and managing change is ongoing. It's never gonna.
Questions from board members?
I'm gonna leave and go help supervise them. Any questions?
Thanks.
Thanks, Ron.
Yes.
Hold.
Yeah, well,
Or
we could,
you want
let's
me
do D3, let's do D3. I think we can,
Okay,
I think we
okay,
can, I think we
okay.
can squeeze it in.
All right.
D3, consideration of the board member onboarding plan.
Okay, so last
Yes.
month you all saw an onboarding plan. I don't think this is something that needs to be like approved by the board, because you shouldn't necessarily approve a plan for
For us.
for
That way.
Spencer and Troy. But I mean, based on your experience as board members and the items that were lined out, like having with new board members, having at the beginning monthly meetings and then like bi-monthly meetings to talk about agenda items. Does that seem like it's useful? Making sure that we moved off an online onboarding to an in-person onboarding, which we are like
Yes.
Shelby, Sarah, Spencer and Troy are going to be going, and myself are going to be going to the MSBA phase 1 and phase 2 training in Minneapolis all together face to face.
And
Like
we
it's,
can dive into that. I know there'll be some downtime at that. We can take that plan and kind of look at it as the four of us and kind of flush out a
so I
process or a rhythm or something, bring it back here.
and I know, so I know you saw it one time, and I'm just wondering if there's dialogue about it, and if there are things that weren't on there that we should consider, or if there are things that were on there that we should scrap. Any thoughts? I'm not expecting a ton of dialogue, so don't feel like you have to. I tried to be thorough.
I think the more we can do to support the new board members and for them to have that place to ask their questions, and
Mhm.
the better off the team will be. It'll be building the team as a whole too. So I think that's a good place.
Yeah.
to
And I think standardizing it helps them hit the ground running a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas it was a little like earthquakey for us for a little while,
Yeah.
just because we were off. There was a number of us that were new. Well, not for Kyle because he had spreadsheets, but
Yeah. Got through it.
We did.
but I think
It was clunky.
standardizing it and kind of having an expectation for
Mhm.
everybody would be helpful.
Let's give it a go.
Okay, so you need to entertain a motion to suspend the
Yeah.
meeting and move into the truth and taxation.
How if I just make a motion to temporarily suspend
Yeah.
our regular board meeting to move into the truth and taxation meeting?
Second.
Motion by Aishin, second by Lurky. Any other conversations? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? We are now in truth and taxation.
I was just looking for that motion.
No, oh, that wouldn't be in there. No. Okay, so we're moving into the truth and taxation meeting. So I am going to be running this section of the meeting. Anyone here from the public, you have the opportunity at the end of this to ask any questions that you would like of the school board or myself about truth and taxation. So moving on to the second page. Moving on to, okay, there we go. I can see it in the mirror there. So Minnesota statute 275.065 requires these three things of the truth and taxation meeting. We're going to discuss proposed property tax levy for taxes payable 2025. We're going to discuss the current year's budget, and the public is going to have a reasonable amount of time to ask questions at this meeting. Reasonable amount of time is tonight. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about the school year's budget. As you all knew from and have known from our finance presentations, next slide, Mr. Larson, enrollment is the main driver of our financial health or not being healthy. So this shows our enrollment trends, and as everyone has known, we've had declining enrollment since 2017. We did have a blip up last year, and why it went down this year is, again, this is what we budgeted on. So we budgeted on 915 students. We don't have 915 students right now, but we adopted our budget last May at 915 students, which is what this is showing. So moving on to the preliminary budget, this shows the difference between our actual and our preliminary budget from year over year. And though the budget looks like there's a 10% difference, just know that for the last three budget cycles, we are spending a significant amount of our construction fund down, and that's going to be very much highlighted on the next slide, where you can see down at the bottom where it says building construction fund. We're moving from a $27 million budget to a $6 million budget because we've spent a lot of that money down. So in terms of a budget cycle, wringing out the construction expenses and the construction revenue is actually going to stabilize us a little bit and make our books kind of catch up and look a little bit more typical for a school district. This is just a reminder, the next couple of graphs of where we receive our revenue. Nearly 75%, a little over 75% of our revenue comes from state aid. And we spend our revenue on the two most important things, and that is staff and students. So if you look on the right hand graph, the orange part it signifies the salaries and wages, and the yellow part is benefits, and then the green part is purchase services. So in a lot of districts, like bus drivers, food service people, custodians will be part of salaries and wages, but we hire Dasher 4.0 and Taher. So those purchase services, I could argue, are actually part of our salaries and wages because there are people that are in our building that are doing the work. So you can see if you count the orange, the yellow, and the green, we spend nearly all of our cash on hand on people that go home every night, and I think that's important. So we're going to be talking about we're going to move into the school levy, and just a reminder for everyone in the room and watching at home, there are two things that determine a school levy. The formula set by the state of Minnesota, which just tell us, hey, this is how much money you're getting based on your student enrollment, the type of students that go to your school, any specialized aid that you qualify for. Or if we go to our voters and say, do you want to voluntarily raise taxes and vote on it? Those are the only two ways that a levy can be raised. So this year, this is what the property tax statements look like, and things that can change your property taxes. Changes in market value of your home, changes in rate or class. So for example, if you move out of your primary residence, buy another home and turn that into a rental property, that changes the class of the home, and your taxes would change on that home. Any market value credits that you get, again, voter approved referendums or any state adjustments, all of those can have an impact on your taxes. The next two slides just kind of show us the market value and the adjusted net tax capacity of our school district. And I think here's the thing in the orange slide. Can you go back one, Rich? In the orange slide here, if you remember last year, there was a lot of people across the state of Minnesota and in Norwood, Young America in particular, that were talking about a change in their property taxes. And if you notice from 2021 to 2022, there was a pretty significant jump in property values. It's stabilized a little bit here this past year. So again, hopefully what that translates to is a stabilization of property taxes on a resident homesteaded home in Central Public Schools. And then the adjusted net tax capacity, this is the values of our resident or of our property within Central Public Schools. And as you can see, our property values are continuing to increase, which does have a positive effect on spreading the levy amount or the tax burden across a greater number of homes, if that in fact new homes are being built. So probably the most important slide, what is our levy history? So in 2019, our levy actually went down, and that was due to some decrease in enrollment. Then in remember in 2019, we passed our first ever levy. So we had a pretty significant property tax increase that was voter approved. Then our property taxes, the increase was small again. Then in 2021, we passed a bond, and those two property tax increases hit over 2 separate years. Those are those 2 larger ones. Then last year we had, I would call a fairly normal year, and this year an even more normal year. On this slide, that last graph for pay 25 indicates a 1.6% increase in taxes. So what does this all mean? What you are tasked with tonight is you are required by law to certify the levy for Central Public Schools in 2024. That will indicate to the county auditors that will tell them to collect the taxes in 2025. And then Central Public Schools will get those taxes that are paid in 2026, or fiscal year 26. Like I said in the previous slide here, next slide, please, Mr. Larson. This is our levies for the last 2 years. So you can see that a couple of our funds, general fund and community service funds, are actually decreasing a little bit, but then now we are into paying our bond back. So some of that redemption schedule is baked in here. So it all nets out to a 1.64% increase. I do want to say, like, general fund is going down $33,900. Does that mean that we are getting $33,900 less? No, that isn't what that means. What is actually happening is we are actually increasing in some of the categorical aids that we're getting from the state of Minnesota. So instead of getting it in the form of residents in Central Public Schools having to pay tax to do it, we are getting it in the form of aid, which is out of the Minnesota Department of Ed coffers, if you will. So we're, like, for example, we are getting a significant bump in compensatory education funding. And I want to say year over year, we're going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of like $390,000 in addition, above and beyond what we are this year. And we're paying less taxes to do it, I guess is the theme. So points to remember: revenue formulas are set by the state legislature, except for voter approval referendums. Property valuations do not change the amount of revenue the district receives. It just changes the way that the amount is divvied up amongst homeowners and taxpayers. And as value change, the property tax burden shifts between taxpayers, between smaller valuations and larger valuations. Any questions? Thank you.
Nicely done. Now we sit and let the public comment.
If you need to give them the opportunity to comment, and I'm not seeing any comments. Anyone want to comment? You don't have to comment. It is. Thank you, Mr. Flay.
Okay, so then we can,
Entertain a motion to.
Okay.
Yep.
well, just hearing that, I'll make a motion to adjourn the Truth in Taxation meeting and resume our regular school board meeting.
Second.
Motion by Aishin, second by Lurky. Did I do that right?
Mhm.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? We are back in our regular meeting operational items.
F1, considerations of the 2025-26 and 2026-27 calendars.
Okay, so I have not made any changes to these since October. I think last
Yeah, we
month.
talked about them last month,
Mhm.
and then we also reviewed kind of that calendar feedback survey.
Yep.
I guess at that time I took away that it sounds like, in general, most of our families are happy with how our calendars are lining up.
Yeah.
So I personally didn't see any big changes. I know you and I connected after, but board members?
I agree.
Okay.
Seems like the feedback.
So I will say, I know there was some dialogue around just the early
I
releases.
did share that.
And so we are working on some ideas of, how do I say this, changing the cadence of our grading schedule, specifically at the secondary school. So that way we could maybe reduce those from 3 to 1, but we just have to let some internal systems kind of work through that a little bit. Because right now, most of our classes run on a semester schedule, except for some middle school ones. So I know Principal Larson is working with his leadership team.
So with that being said, so would that be something we would bring back and we would adjust these calendars at that time?
When
If
and
that
if
were to happen?
it were to happen,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
My recommendation is to approve the calendars as presented based on the feedback that I've received.
Okay. Comments, questions from board members?
I move to approve both the 26-27 calendar as well as the 25-26 calendar as presented.
Motion by Lurky, second by Erickson. Any other conversations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Calendars are approved. F2.
F2, consideration of the final tax levy.
All right.
I know we all had a ton of questions.
Yeah, I know. So by law, you need to approve the final tax levy. And I'm just gonna say the number and the sheet is in clerk Smith's packet here. The recommendation is approved for $6,161,693.10 for this pay 25 Central Public Schools levy.
Any conversation? Anybody have anything else they want to say? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the final tax levy as presented at the amount Superintendent Schockemeyer just stated, because I did not write that
Yeah, no,
down.
that's fine.
6 million something.
6 point something.
Second.
Motion by Aishin, second by Overlocks. Any other conversations? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? All right, we'll move on to G. Our next board meeting is January 27th, 2025 at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. Anything? I'm gonna leave it to probably the 3 of you to do the very last one. If you want to do it together, you sure can. But I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Lurky,
Second.
second by Strickmadden. All right. Anything else, board members? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you so much, Sarah, Kyle, and Connor. Yeah.